This is Paul Saunders again. Welcome to my new podcast, Three Questions. Thank you for tuning in today to listen. I'm very pleased today to be with Professor Chin-Ho Park, who is the acting president of the Korea Institute for Energy Technology, otherwise known as KenTech in South Korea. He's an experienced policymaker from Korea's Ministry of Trade, Industry, and Energy in the past, where he worked on strategic planning. He's also a professor of engineering with a very strong background in solar photovoltaic and has been the head of Korea's Energy Society and also its solar photovoltaic society. So, Chin-Ho, thank you very much for joining today.
Thank you, for inviting me.
No, it's a real pleasure. So the first question that I wanted to ask you relates to Korea's energy sector. There's obviously a lot of turmoil today in the global economy, some of that related to the US-China trade conflict, some more generally to the Trump administration's tariff policies. How is this affecting energy in Korea?
I would say very much, especially the tariff. The U.S. and the Korean government recently met in Washington, D.C. and discussed the trade issues in a so-called 2+2 dialogue. The Deputy Prime Minister for Economic Affairs and the Minister of Trade, Industry, and Energy attended this meeting from Korean side. And the Korean officials stated that the dialogue was constructive with detailed discussions planned after the June 3rd, 2025 presidential election. But they also said it'll be a package deal. So we don't know the details, but overall, we expect that Korea will likely increase U.S. natural gas imports and potentially participate in the Alaska natural gas project. And the cooperation in nuclear sector seems brighter. The electric grid sector seems very promising, but photovoltaic sector may take relative advantage or benefit due to the U.S.-China trade conflict. But the EV sector and the battery sector seems not very promising. And also the closer cooperation in the energy-related R&D is expected. But an issue with the U.S. government's recent designation of Korea as one of the sensitive countries may have some effect. So that's the first thing that I can mention.
I think that gives a very good picture. So I call this the Three Questions podcast, of course, because I only ask three questions, and I could ask many follow-up questions about what you just said, but I won't for now, at least, so that we can focus on a couple of other questions. The next thing that I think would be very interesting for our listeners to understand is, Korea obviously is in its own period of political uncertainty right now. There was an effort late last year by former President Yoon to establish martial law that kicked off really a few months of legal and political disputes. Ultimately, President Yoon had to leave office. There will be a new presidential election in Korea on June 3rd. And observers, I think, widely expect that the conservatives, whom President Yoon represented, will lose that election, and a more liberal or progressive president will come into office in Korea. What changes should we expect, again, in Korea's energy sector? As a result of that transition. Energy has been, like in the United States and in some other countries, it's been a contested political issue in Korea.
Well, we expect that there will be some drastic change in the energy policy if the Liberal Party wins the election. If Conservative Party wins the election, but they has not selected the presidential candidate yet, and they're still campaigning. You know, whoever wins in the Conservative Party, the Conservative Party's energy policy will likely mirror the current government's approach. But if Liberal Party's victory happens, then it'll significantly alter energy policy. For example, the distributed energy systems and microgrids will be much more promoted with renewable power together with expanded deployment of battery energy storage systems. Offshore wind project in designated zones will be expedited, and integrate PV project like agri PV, floating PV, parking lot PV, and industrial complex rooftop PV will also be promoted. Current Liberal Party but seems to keep nuclear power to supply Korea's baseload and meet the demands due to the rapid increase in electricity for AI data centers and new semiconductor clusters. They will not take the previous Liberal government's nuclear fade away policy. I can tell that because the many top rank officials in the Liberal Party is stating that statement. They'll keep the nuclear as an important baseload, to cover the important baseload needs. And another concept they're talking about is concept of energy highway. The energy highway is being discussed to transmit excess renewable electricity from southwestern part of Korean Peninsula to the capital area of Seoul and the new semiconductor industry cluster they're building nearby. So those things will be, critical changes and also expected policy changes by the Liberal Party.
Sounds like some possibly big changes could be on the way. Now, in your first answer, when we talked a little bit about the negotiations with the United States, you mentioned Korea possibly buying some additional liquefied natural gas, LNG from the United States. But maybe taking a step back from that and just looking more broadly at Korea's foreign energy policy. Again, if there is a change in government to a liberal or even progressive government in Korea after the election, what changes might you expect in how Korea engages with the rest of the world on energy? Certainly LNG and also nuclear. Again, kind of some of the more contested elements of Korea's energy policy.
Well, the Korea's energy policy with foreign countries will remain almost the same, but because of the change of energy policy due to U.S. Government change, that will affect the general, portfolio of international, negotiation of energy policy will happen. Especially the LNG imports from U.S. to Korea are definitely expected to increase. If I can give you some numbers, imports of the currently Korea is number 3 country in the world in the LNG import, and we are importing natural gas from countries like Australia, U.S., Qatar, Malaysia, and Oman. In 2024, U.S. was number 4 country of LNG export to Korea. If you look back a little bit, the Korea imported only 0.1% of LNG from U.S. in 2016, but it increased to 18.5% in 2021, and in 2024, it was estimated to be about 30%. This trend of shifting the LNG portfolio, import portfolio, from other countries, they're moving towards more to U.S. And another sector like petroleum import from U.S. also likely to increase. If you look at the nuclear sector, we expect that the cooperation between U.S. and Korea will likely to be more active, both in conventional reactors and also the new reactors like small modular reactors. and export of the nuclear reactors to the third countries by US-Korea joint consortium will also likely to be further promoted. One good example that I can tell is about the consortium led by US NuScale Power for a Romanian project of 462 megawatt Voyager 6 SMR power plant construction. Very recently, it was announced that the Privio industrial complex in Dâmbovița County, Romania, was finally selected as the site. And from Korean side, Samsung C&T and Doosan Enerbility will be the partner. So those type of activities will likely to happen more and more.
Terrific, terrific. Sounds like kind of a continued interest on Korea's part in really working closely with the United States, regardless of what occurs. So, thank you very much. We've come to the end of the three questions. There are many other things I might ask. Perhaps we can have you back again sometime in the future, but. Professor Jin-Ho Park, thank you very much for joining us today on Three Questions. Again, this is Paul Saunders. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul, for inviting me.